Recognize that unlearning is the highest form of learning. Why we are so easy to unlearn the programming, the indoctrination. You stop judging and just start observing. What do you think about Orenda? Mystical force present in all living things, an unseen energy that drives the universe forward. It is the quiet yet unbreakable power within you. The resilience to shape your own destiny, to rise above challenges, and to leave an imprint on the world. After Learn, Unlearn, Relearn, and Orenda, I'm connecting the destiny with the Merlin season lines. Who you are destined to become, it's fated. So what's the difference between fate and destiny? It doesn't matter what I do, it will still happen. There is a difference between fate and destiny. Soulmate is someone we recognize more of divine. When you see the friend, you remember Allah. A soulmate, someone who helps you to recognize more of a divine, that divine one source. In order to find the God that made man, we have to stop following the God that man made. And then from it, the one divine light, and then through that prism, different branches of that tree, different religions coming out. There is no other world. I only know what I have experienced. You must be hallucinating. Everyone has been made for some particular work, and the desire for that work has been put in every heart. So, how to reach to the heart? But like a spirit, I am hidden from the eyes of the world. With each passing moment, a soul sets off to find itself RUMI. So here Deepak Chopra talks about bringing your awareness in your heart, then ask the heart, who am I? What are my deepest desire? What am I grateful for? What's my purpose? Are we aware of these three hungers? Mental hunger, linking with parasite, obsession, driven, feels like intrusive, obsessive thoughts about food, cravings that feel urgent, irrational, repetition. Then emotional hunger, masking, impulse driven, feels like an impulse to reach for food, for scrolling, for snacking, for crunching, even when you are not truly hungry. What are you avoiding? What kind of emotion you are soothing through your emotional hunger? Like insecurity, rejection, betrayal, loneliness, boredom. So it's opening the door to self-awareness. Mental hunger is the inner noise that feeds off self-doubt. And the true hunger, worthy self-driven, which builds communication with the body, feels like steady, calm signals, the body asking for nourishment, not drama. The book on the taboo against knowing who you are is best known as an interpreter of Zen Buddhism in particular, and in general of Indian and Chinese philosophy. And he's quoting in this book, The Taboo, from other books, The Nature of the Physical World, The View of the World. The symbol is interesting. The Quantum Theory by David Bohm, and these are the table of contents. This book explores and unrecognized but mighty taboo, we try to ignore who we really are or what we really are. Briefly, the thesis is that the prevalent sensation of oneself as a separate ego enclosed in a bag of skin is a hallucination, which accords neither with Western science nor with the experimental philosophy, religions of the East, in particular the central and germinal Vedanta philosophy of Hinduism. It is rather cross-fertilization of Western science with an Eastern intuition. The ego seeks to divide and separate. The spirit seeks to unify and heal. Just what should a young man or a woman know in order to be in the know? What is that knowing? Seeing is not the same as knowing. Is there some inside information, some special taboo, some real lowdown on the life and existence that most parents and teachers either just don't know or wouldn't talk about or wouldn't tell? There are indeed secrets in the Bible and some very subversive ones, but they are also muffled up in complications in archaic symbols and ways of thinking. Breaking of aura, golden light body, and the gold symbol in that table. So, flesh of the gods, 33. What's with the 33 with the spinal cord? Is it a stairway to light? And Gold, is it a stairway? Alchemy symbol, turning the body into living gold. That was turning lead into the gold. Solar fire, life force, the son of Ra, son of God, light of the world. And it's interesting, as vowels are from same group, A, E, I, O, U, so S-U-N, sun, and S-I-N, sin. What are they talking about? The stranded brand religions, whether Jewish, Christianity, Mohammedan, Islam, Hindu, Buddhism, are now practiced like exhausted minds, very hard to dig, with some exceptions not too easily found. Their ideas about man and the world, their imaginary, their rights, and their notions of good life don't seem to fit in with the universe as we know it. The book I am thinking about would not be religious in the usual sense, but it would have to discuss many things with which religions have been concerned. 1. Universe and man's human place in the universe. A mysterious center of experience, which we call I, myself. The problems of life, the problems of love, the problems of pain, and the problems of death. The whole question of whether existence has meaning in any sense of the word, the rat race. Go to college, find a job, pay off debt, climb the ladder, 2-week vacation, work for 45 years, and but there is a growing apprehension that existence is a rat race in a trap. Living organisms, including people, are merely tubes which put things in at one end and let them out at the other, which both keeps them doing it and in the long run wears them out. So to keep the farce going, the tubes find ways of making new tubes. At the input end, they can develop of nerves called brains with eyes, with ears, so that they can more easily scrounge, seek to obtain something, food, money, around for things to swallow. And when they get enough to eat, they use up their surplus energy by wiggling in complicated patterns. Manage to do this in a staggering variety of forms. There's a vague rule not to eat tubes of your own form, not to eat other humans, but in general there is a serious competition going on. Who is going to be the top type of tube? All this seems marvelously futile, yet when you begin to think about it, it begins to be more marvelous than futile. Indeed, it seems extremely odd. It is one thing to be amazed at a Gorgon. It is one thing to be amazed at a griffin. Creatures which do not exist. Do they really? But it is quite another and much higher thing to be amazed at a rhinoceros or a giraffe, creatures which do exist and look as if they don't. The feeling of universal oddity includes a basic and intense wondering about the sense of things. Why of all possible worlds this colossal, extremely large, apparently unnecessary multitude of galaxies in the mysteriously curved space-time continuum? A very large number of different tube species in this cartoon movie. And then if you remember the Matrix, the pod from which Neo wake up, Matrix first movie. These tube species are playing frantic games of one-upmanship. Numberless ways of doing it, from the elegant architecture of the snow crystal, the diatom, to the startling magnificence of lyrebird or peacock. The point there, wonder is not a disease. Wonder and its expression in poetry, arts, are among the most important things which seem to distinguish man from other animals, and intelligent and sensitive people from morons. Our common sense, like seriously, these days our common sense is just inside out, or you can see upside down. This one you can just read. We are in a game from which one can't withdraw without suicide and in which one can never return to an older form of the game. A system that makes you pay to exist, compete to eat instead of cooperate, and obey to survive is not a civilization, it's a prison with shopping privileges. There's more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophy. It is said that humanity has evolved one-sidedly, growing in technical power without any comparable growth in moral integrity. Yet the problem is more basic. The root of the matter is the way in which we feel, we conceive ourselves as human beings, our sensation of being alive, of individual existence and identity. We suffer from a hallucination, from a false and distorted sensations of our own existence as living organisms. We suffer from a false and distorted sensation of our own existence. Hallucination? What's the difference between illusion and hallucination? Most of us have the sensation that I myself is a separate center of feeling and action living inside, bounded by the physical body. Center which confronts an external world of people and things, making contact through the senses with a universe both alien and strange. Everyday figures of speech reflect this illusion. I came into this world, you must face reality, the conquest of nature. This feeling of being lonely and very temporary visitors in this universe in flat contradiction to everything known about man, the sciences. We do not come into this world. We come out of this world. Our elements, as leaves comes from tree, as the ocean, waves, the universe, peoples. Every individual is an expression of the whole realm of nature, a unique action of total universe. This fact is rarely, if ever, experienced by most individuals. Even those who know it to be true in theory do not sense it, do not feel it, continue to be aware of themselves and isolated egos inside bags of skin. The first result of the illusion is that our attitude to the world that outside, is largely hostile. We are forever trying to conquer the nature, the space, the mountain, the desert, bacteria, insects, instead of learning to cooperate with them in harmonious order. In America, great symbols of this conquest are bulldozer and the rocket, instrument that batters the hill into the flat tracks for little boxes are buildings that making us sick, and the great phallic projectile that blasts the sky. You can also search phallic architecture. The hostile attitude of conquering nature ignores basic interdependence of all things and events, that the world beyond skin is actually an extension of our own. It's not separate. We are all connected. We are all one. Only egos, only beliefs, only fears separate us. Result of feeling that we are separate minds, alien, and mostly stupid. Universe is that we have no common sense, no way of making sense of the world upon which we are agreed in. It might seem that our need is for some genius to invent a new religion, a philosophy of life, a view of the world, and through which every individual can feel that the world as a whole and his own life in particular have a meaning. Now let's discuss religions. As history has shown repeatedly, it's not enough. Religions are divided and quarrelsome. They are a form of one-upmanship because they depend upon separating the safe from the damned, the true believers from the heretics. So there is this division. The in-groups from the out-groups. Even religious liberals play the game of we are more tolerant than you. Furthermore, this matrix and the red pill. Religion is a system of doctrine, symbolism, and behaviors. Religions harden into institutions. Religions are institutions that must command loyalty, be defended, kept pure, because all belief is fervent hope and thus a cover-up for doubt, cover up for uncertainty. Religions must make converse. The more people who agree with us, the less nagging insecurity about our position. New and indigestible ideas have to be wangled into the religious tradition, however inconsistent with its original doctrines. Intellectual suicide, it is positive unfaith because religion closes the mind to any new vision of the world. Faith is above all openness, an act of trust in the unknown. You cannot force wisdom on someone who is committed to their own foolishness. Majority just needs validation. They defend, they argue, they don't want your wisdom. They want you to confirm what they already believe. And if by any chance you trust their view of themselves, they will reject you entirely. Not suffering from lack of knowledge, suffering from excessive pride, believe that they already know their way is the right way, the only way. Anyone who suggests otherwise is simply wrong, because behind pride, what's hiding? A fear, terrified of being wrong. Entire identity is built on being right. Whole sense of self begins to crumble if they acknowledge that they are wrong. So then Alan Watts talks about once upon a time came across Jehovah's Witness. He said, if there was a God of love, he would certainly provide mankind with a reliable, infallible textbook for guidance of conduct. I reply that no considerate God would destroy the human mind by making it so rigid and unadaptable as to depend upon one book, the Bible for all the answers. For the use of words and thus of a book is to point beyond themselves to a world of life and experiences that is not mere words or even ideas. Just as money is not real, consumable wealth, books are not life. The book that I would like to slip to my children would itself be slippery. It would slip them into a new domain, not of ideas alone, but of experience and feeling. It would be a temporary medicine, not a diet, a point of departure, not a perpetual point of reference. They would read it, be done with it. A mind that is stretched by a new experience can never go back to its old dimensions. We do not need a new religion or a new book. We need a new experience, a new feeling of what it is to be I. The lowdown on life is that our normal sensation of self is a hoax, at best a temporary role that we are playing, or have been conned into playing, with our own consent, just as every hypnotized person is basically willing to be hypnotized. The most strongly enforced of all known taboos is the taboo against knowing who you really are, what you really are behind the mask of your apparently separate, independent, and isolated egos. I'm not thinking of your barbarous the ego, the superego, ID or unconscious as the actual reality behind the facade of personality. Freud, as we shall see, was under the influence of 19th century fashion called reductionism, a curious need to put down human culture and intelligence by calling it a flaky byproduct of a blind and irrational forces. They work very hard to prove that grapes can grow on thorn bushes. So this word in Quran, what's going on? Is there any connection? Facade. Any link between this English word and Arabic word? Fasada. As is so often the way, what we have suppressed, what we have overlooked is something startlingly obvious. The difficulty is that it is so obvious, it is so basic, that one can hardly find the word for it. Hintergedanke. German call it Hintergedanke, like D is silent, an apprehension lying in the back of our minds which we cannot easily admit even to ourselves. Ta-da!